Welcome back to Shadow Philosophy. Have you ever met someone who seems untouchable? Not in an arrogant way, but in a quiet, steady way. Life happens around them, drama, demands, pressure, but it doesn't seem to stick. They have a calm center. They say no without a long, apologetic explanation. They don't get pulled into arguments they didn't choose. When someone tries to play mind games with them, it just doesn't work. It's like they're protected by an invisible shield. And then there's you. Maybe you feel the opposite. You feel the pull of every demand. You lie awake at night replaying conversations, wondering if you were the problem. You feel a knot in your stomach when a certain person's name pops up on your phone. You give, and you explain, and you justify, and at the end of the day, you feel empty, drained, as if your energy has been siphoned off. That feeling, that's your power, leaving you piece by piece. But that shield those other people have, that quiet power, it isn't magic. It's a way of seeing the world and your place in it. And to build it, we won't use gentle, comforting platitudes. We're going to use the raw, unflinching philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche. He didn't write to make us feel better. He wrote to make us become stronger. This is a guide to building your psychological armor layer by layer. Let's begin. Lesson 1. See the world as it is, the will to power. You might wish for a world that's fair, where kindness is always returned, and people play by the rules. That's a beautiful hope. But the people who can't be manipulated, they don't just hope. They see the world as it actually is. And underneath the surface of polite conversation, Nietzsche saw a fundamental driver in all of life, not just a will to survive, but a will to power. A drive to grow, to expand, to assert our influence. This isn't about being a bully. It's much deeper than that. It's the tree root cracking the sidewalk to reach the sun. It's the drive to master a skill, to build a life, to have our voice heard. It's a neutral, biological fact. Your pain often starts when you forget this. You assume everyone operates on your moral code. You offer trust, expecting it to be reciprocated. But a manipulator, they see that trust not as a gift, but as an opening. They understand the currency of influence intuitively. Your desire for harmony is a lever they can pull. Your guilt is a button they can press. Tip 1.1. Look at the game being played. When you truly internalize that everyone is operating from their own will to power, something shifts. You stop taking things so personally. You stop thinking, why are they doing this to me? And you start to see, they are trying to increase their sense of control in this situation. This isn't cynicism, it's clarity. It's like finally seeing the matrix. When you see the lever they're trying to pull, you can simply step aside. You remove the emotional sting and replace it with a quiet understanding. Tip 1.2. Tend to your own garden. The ultimate defense isn't to fight their power grab, but to become so solid in your own power that their attempts feel trivial. Think about it, you don't see people trying to manipulate a mountain. Why? Because it's pointless. The mountain is just there, solid, immovable. Your work is to become that mountain. Build your skills, your confidence, your inner peace. Invest in yourself so heavily that you become a terrible investment for a manipulator. They look for easy returns. When you are rooted in your own strength, you are no longer an easy target. Lesson 2. Be your own final judge. The antidote to gaslighting. Those untouchable people, they have an internal compass. It doesn't mean they're always right, but they trust their own judgment above anyone else's. They can hear 10 different opinions and still calmly return to their own center to decide. Many of us, however, have an external compass. We look to others, our parents, our friends, our partners, even strangers on the internet to tell us if we're okay, if we're right, if we're good. This is the crack in your armor. This is the exact vulnerability that gaslighting exploits. Gaslighting is when someone systematically denies your reality. They tell you you're too sensitive, that never happened, you're crazy. It's not a disagreement, it's a slow, psychological poisoning of your own perception. They are trying to become the sole source of truth for you. Nietzsche put it with brutal simplicity, he who cannot obey himself will be commanded. Let that sink in. If you cannot be the commander of your own mind, someone else will volunteer for the job. A gaslighter is essentially saying, your internal compass is broken, use mine instead. And if you're not careful, you will. Tip 2.1. Listen to the whisper in your gut. That feeling, that tightness in your chest, that little voice that says something is off here. That is your subconscious intelligence, your deepest self, shouting at you in the only language it has. The manipulated person learns to talk over this voice. They rationalize, maybe I am overreacting. Maybe they didn't mean it that way. The strong person, they listen to the whisper. They trust it first. They understand that logic can be manipulated, but the gut feeling is an ancient, raw data stream. If it feels wrong, it is wrong. Period. Tip 2.2. Anchor yourself in your own reality. Don't let anyone be the sole editor of your story. If you're dealing with someone who twists the past, start anchoring yourself. Keep a private journal. Save text messages. Confide in a trusted, neutral friend. This isn't paranoia. It's taking responsibility for your own sanity. When you have a record of your truth, their attempts to rewrite history just sound like noise. You can look at them and think, quietly, I have a different record. You become the unshakable witness to your own life. Lesson 3. Don't follow the herd, the trap of slave morality. Look around. See how many people are just echoes. They adopt the popular opinion, wear the right brands, signal the right virtues not from deep conviction, but from a deep fear of being cast out. Nietzsche called this the herd mentality. He saw it as a comfortable prison, a place where people trade their uniqueness for a sense of belonging. Your pain often comes when a manipulator uses this herd instinct against you. They use social pressure as a weapon. Everyone thinks you're being difficult. A good person would do this. You're so selfish for thinking of yourself. This is what Nietzsche called slave morality, a value system designed to make the strong feel guilty for their strength and the independent feel ashamed of their independence. It glorifies traits like meekness, obedience, and niceness because these traits make people predictable and easy to manage. Tip 3.1. Write your own rulebook. The strong individual doesn't rebel for the sake of rebellion. They simply live by a code they've authored themselves. They don't ask, what does everyone else think is right? They ask, what is right for me? What aligns with my integrity? What serves my growth? This is the beginning of what Nietzsche called the master morality, not masters over others, but masters of the self. It's the morality of self-creation. It requires you to look inward, to do the hard work of figuring out who you are and what you stand for, separate from the crowd. Tip 3.2. Learn the strength of standing alone. Manipulators use the threat of exclusion. If you don't do this, you'll be out of the group. The ultimate defense is to become comfortable with that possibility. Nietzsche himself needed solitude to think his deepest thoughts. There is a profound strength that comes from knowing you can stand on your own 2 feet, that your sense of self doesn't crumble without the approval of the tribe. When you are no longer afraid of being alone, you become immune to social blackmail. Lesson 4. The power of strategic silence. Many of us feel a deep, anxious need to explain ourselves, to fill the silence, to make sure we're understood and liked. We offer up our vulnerabilities, our past, our fears as tokens of trust. The strong individual is often quiet. They listen more than they speak. Their silence isn't empty. It's full of presence. They understand that words are not just for communication. They are also tools. And sometimes, the most powerful tool is to withhold them. A manipulator is a data miner. They feed on information. Your over-explaining is a gold mine. They learn what you're insecure about, what you cherish, what you fear. They file it all away, and later, they will use it. Your love for your child becomes a point of pressure. Your insecurity about your job becomes a lever for control. Nietzsche advised a kind of strategic modesty. Real modesty is an art of hiding. Don't confuse this with being secretive or dishonest. It's about being selective. It's about understanding that not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Tip 4.1. Reclaim your energy by saying less. You do not owe everyone a detailed report on your decisions or your feelings. Practice saying, this is what I've decided, and leave it there. No long justifications. No pleading for understanding. Every time you refuse to explain, you are reclaiming a piece of your power. You are saying, my judgment is sufficient for me. Tip 4.2. Become comfortably unpredictable. Manipulators are strategists. They rely on predictability. They know if they push button A, you'll react with B. So, change the script. When they expect an emotional outburst, respond with calm silence. When they expect a defense, simply say, I see we disagree. This isn't being manipulative in return, it's refusing to play a rigged game. When you become unpredictable, you take control of the board. They no longer know how to play you, and they will often just stop trying. Lesson 5. Love your fate. Amor Fati, and the end of fear. Watch a resilient person in a crisis. There's a stillness to them. They aren't numb, they're present. They absorb the blow, adapt, and keep moving. They have a deep-seated acceptance that life includes suffering, and they have made peace with it. Many of us live in fear of pain, fear of conflict, fear of loss, fear of failure. This fear is the manipulator's primary weapon. They threaten you with these very things. If you don't do this, you'll be alone. If you say that, there will be a huge fight. They hold the specter of suffering over your head to control your actions. Nietzsche's answer to this was perhaps his most powerful concept, Amor Fati, the love of one's fate. He said, my formula for greatness in a human being is Amor Fati. That one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. Not merely bear what is necessary, but love it. This isn't passive resignation. It's an active, passionate embrace of everything that makes you you. The good, the bad, the embarrassing, the painful. It's looking at your entire past and your present circumstances and saying, yes, this is the raw material of my life. I will not wish any of it away. I will use all of it. Tip 5.1. Pull the teeth from their threats. When you genuinely embrace Amor Fati, what can a manipulator truly threaten you with? If they threaten to leave, your inner response becomes, then that is part of my fate, and I will learn from it and be strong. If they threaten conflict, you think, conflict is a part of life, and I can handle it. You become fundamentally unthreatenable because you have accepted all possible outcomes as part of your journey. Their leverage vanishes. Tip 5.2. Alchemize your pain. Use the experience of being manipulated as your fuel. That feeling of powerlessness. Let it drive you to build your own power. That feeling of being deceived. Let it sharpen your perception. Nietzsche famously said, what does not kill me makes me stronger. But this is only true if you choose to make it so. Amor Fati turns you from a victim of your story into the author who can use even the darkest chapters to create a compelling narrative of strength. Lesson 6. Be wary of the vampire of false compassion. This is a difficult lesson, but a crucial one. Many of us pride ourselves on being nice. We are helpers, fixers, rescuers. We feel the pain of others deeply, and we want to make it better. Nietzsche was deeply suspicious of this kind of compassion. He didn't advocate for cruelty, but he saw how what passes for compassion can often be a weakness in disguise. He called it the chief virtue of the slave. It's a virtue that keeps you bound. That makes you feel guilty for prioritizing yourself. The manipulator is a master at spotting this. They play the victim beautifully. They tell you about their endless struggles. They make you feel responsible for their happiness. They use your own kindness as a chain to bind you. Your fear of being seen as selfish or mean is the prison they lock you in. Tip 6.1. Distinguish compassion from enmeshment. True compassion comes from a place of abundance. It's a choice you make from your strength. You have enough for yourself, so you can give freely. The compassion that gets manipulated is born from emptiness and fear. It's the feeling that you must help, or you are a bad person. It's a desperate bid for validation. The strong person is kind, but their kindness has boundaries. They can say, I feel for you, but I cannot solve this for you. They don't set themselves on fire to keep someone else warm. Tip 6.2. Let your no be a complete sentence. Practice setting a firm boundary without a 3-paragraph explanation. No, I can't do that. I'm not available for that. You don't need to justify protecting your time, your energy, and your peace. If someone reacts to your healthy boundary with anger or guilt tripping, see it for what it is, a confirmation that they were relying on your inability to say no. Lesson 7, the lifelong project becoming who you are. We've been talking about defenses, about shields. But the ultimate state is beyond defense. It's a state of becoming. Nietzsche called this ideal the Übermensch, the overman, or the one who has overcome themselves. He described man as a rope, tied between beast and overman, a rope over an abyss. Most of us are on that rope, swaying in the wind. We're caught between our base instincts and our highest potential. That abyss below us is our fear, our doubt, our need for approval. This is where manipulators hunt. The Übermensch is the one who has walked the rope, who is focused entirely on the other side. They are engaged in the lifelong project of self-creation. They are not a static thing, but a constant becoming. Tip 7.1, focus on your own evolution. When you are relentlessly focused on becoming a better, stronger, more skilled version of yourself, you simply have no bandwidth for manipulation. Your energy is directed inward, on your own growth. You're too busy building your own life to be a side character in someone else's manipulative drama. A person on a genuine mission is a moving target, and a hard one to hit. Tip 7.2, find a purpose that is yours alone. A person with a deep, personal purpose is like a ship with a strong rudder. The waves and winds the attempts to manipulate and push you off course might hit the ship, but they cannot easily change its direction. Your purpose is your true north. When you know who you are and where you are going, the opinions and games of others lose their power to disorient you. You are no longer a rope over an abyss. You are the one building the bridge across it. Nietzsche's philosophy isn't a warm blanket. It's a cold, clear mirror. It shows you the world and yourself without the filters. It doesn't comfort you, it awakens you. And in that moment of awakening, you might feel a sense of vertigo, even disorientation. But remember, the dizziness of truth is better than the false comfort of a dream, because it's from this raw, unfiltered place that you can truly begin to build. Manipulation thrives in the shadows of self-doubt and a fragile will. It's a parasitic plant that can only take root in the soft soil of a spirit that hasn't yet found its own footing. Nietzsche's work is the light that floods those shadows. This isn't a gentle, forgiving light. It's the stark light of dawn, burning away the fog and revealing the landscape exactly as it is. And in that light, you find the strength to stand as your own sovereign, not needing permission, not requiring validation, simply existing in your own wholeness. Remember these 7 lessons not as rigid commandments, but as landmarks on your own personal map. See the game of power, so you can stop being a naive pawn and become a conscious player. Trust your own inner voice, even when it's a whisper, for it is your most reliable compass. Dare to be different, to step away from the noisy crowd and hear the unique melody of your own life. Value silence. It is the power that allows you to observe, to understand, and to not hastily give your energy away. Love your fate, all of it, the cracks and the scars, for they are the unique map that led you to yourself. Be wisely compassionate, knowing that true kindness flows from abundance, not from emptiness, and never, ever stop the work of becoming who you are. This is the greatest project of your life. This journey does not promise ease. It asks for the courage to look clearly, both outward and inward. It demands that you continually overcome yourself, day after day. But the reward is nothing less than true sovereignty, the freedom of not being defined by anyone else's narrative, of not being jerked around by invisible strings. It is the right to be fully, unapologetically yourself. Thank you for watching Shadow Philosophy. If this resonated with that quiet part of you, the part that has always known its own latent strength, then please like, subscribe, and share this with anyone who needs to hear this truth. We explore the shadows of the mind not to live in them, but to understand them, because only by understanding the shadows can we finally step into the light, fully in possession of ourselves, our minds, and our destinies. Until next time, remember the real battle isn't out there. It's for the territory of your own mind, and you have everything it takes to reclaim it. Until next time, reclaim your mind.